morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the Bourse Report. Well, today we're talking financial earnings once again, and we're focusing on the non-banking sector and a former member of the non-banking finance sector of the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. So today we're speaking about Answer Merchant Bank Limited, as well as Sagicor Financial Company Limited, or SFC, now listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Now, both financial groups would have reported very commendable recovery in earnings on the heels of very robust financial market activity in 2021. Will that be the case going forward into 2022? Well, let's take a quick look at how both companies did and what investors can expect in the months ahead. Now, turning firstly to Answer Merchant Bank Limited, or AMBL, well, the group would have reported an earnings per share figure of a whopping $3.58, which was 89% above the $1.89 per share recorded in what could certainly be described as a very challenging fiscal 2020. Operating income was up just under 28%, operating expenses up by a much less proportionate 9.2% from $425 million to $464 million. Overall profits attributable to shareholders did increase by that 89% from $162 million to just around $306 million. When we take a look at profit before taxes delivered or generated by AMBL's major operating segments, well, we can see there was a very welcome turnaround in fortunes in fiscal 2021. The banking services segment up just around 12% in that blue column from $131 million to just around $147 odd million. The big driver, of course, was that insurance services segment, which would have increased from $74 million in fiscal 2020 to $240 million in fiscal 2021, which was roughly a 220% increase in profit before taxes year on year. And that mutual fund segment would have recovered very nicely from a break-even or marginal loss in fiscal 2020 to 14 odd million in fiscal 2021. So certainly not at the levels that they would have experienced in fiscal 2019 at 20 million for that mutual fund segment, but definitely an improvement from that 2020 period. Now, when we take a look at AMBL's valuation in the eyes of a shareholder, we can see that 2020 and that very compressed or condensed earnings per share figure would have led to very inflated valuations with a price earnings level of 21.1 times, which was well above that historical or recent historical average of between 11 to 16 odd times earnings for AMBL. Now, with that boost in earnings and recovery in earnings to $3.58, well, that would have fallen to a much more modest 11.5 times. So certainly raising an eyebrow to, in a good way, for potential or would-be investors, particularly given AMBL's recent acquisition activity with their Answer Bank acquisition and that pending acquisition of Qualifier as well. Now, at a price of $41 per share, AMBL is trading at 11.5 times, which is pretty attractive relative to its own historical multiples. But, however, it is above that non-banking finance sector's average of around 7.7 times. The stock offers a trailing dividend yield of a relatively attractive 2.9%, certainly more attractive than the sector average of 2%. Now, on the basis of those banking and insurance acquisitions, or pending insurance acquisitions rather, improved profitability, but tempered by financial market volatility, which has played a fairly significant part in the down and up cycles of its earnings in recent times. Bourse maintains a market weight rating on AMBL. Turning quickly to Sagicor Financial Company Limited, or SFC, well, the group would have reported fully diluted EPS of 91 cents US per share, which was a very stark improvement to the loss of 2 cents US per share in fiscal 2020. Overall total revenues were up 25% to $2.35 billion from $1.87 billion in fiscal 2020. Benefits and expenses also climbed from $1.78 to $2.1 billion US. Overall, that net income attributable to shareholders was $153.2 million US for fiscal 2021 compared to a loss of $3.6 million US in the prior comparable period. Again, much of the volatility which would have led to declines in asset valuations would have weighed on Sagicor in 2020, and certainly the corollary would have held, or the opposite would have held true with that upswing in markets in fiscal 2021 benefiting Sagicor's results as well in fiscal 2021. From a revenue story, The USA as a geographical segment would have improved 57 odd percent to just under 1.1 billion. US from 696 million. Jamaica up from 576 to 649 million US, 18% odd increase. Trinidad and Tobago down just about 12 to 18% from 256 to 226 million. And Barbados posting moderate gains as well from 186 to 211 million. When we take a look at the contributors in terms of profit before tax by segment for Sagicor, well, as we can see, 2020 was a very significantly disrupted year. For 2021, there was more of a normalization with a very significant 100% odd, 115% odd increase in Sagicor Jamaica's profits from 78 million to 168, and various other segments swinging from losses to profits in fiscal 2021. Now, it hasn't been the intended result hasn't really materialized in terms of Sagicor's movement from Caribbean or regional exchanges to the Toronto listed or the Toronto Stock Exchange, with the stock price languishing around at $6.35 to $6.40 Canadian level since moving and being initially listed at a price of $10 Canadian per share on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So investors certainly have been monitoring it. One of the key attractive features of Sagicor as a stock at this particular point in time is its dividend yield, which hovers around 4.4%. So certainly for investment that investors would have made in TT dollars they are currently receiving US dollars, it does have some appeal in that regard on the basis of stabilizing economic activity at the regional level, healthy dividend payments, but again, keeping one eye on volatile financial markets. And it has certainly been a fairly volatile financial market for the first quarter of 2022. Bourse maintains a market weight rating on Sagicor Financial Company Limited for the time being. Well, that's it for this week's report. For more information, you can give us a call at 226-8773 or to Bourse. Email us at invest@boursefinancial.com. And of course, you can catch all of our research on our website at bourseinvestment.com and this article in today's business section of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper. Well, until next time, have yourself a very safe week and a very profitable week ahead. This has been the Bourse Report.